Okay, I think we can start. Hello, guys. Today we have a special edition. Our guest is a journalist, a Swedish journalist who's working for many years in Italy also. And for me, I explained, Jennifer, first of all, thank you for participation. Thank you for your time. And welcome in my project. First of all, I wanted to ask you about this story, how I knew about your personality. To be honest, I tried to Google anything about you in Russian media, sport media, and I didn't find anything. There are some news and some quotes from you about Ibrahimovic, about Swedish football, but not real stories about you. And how I learned about your personality, I did an interview with the press attaché of Serie A.
Tiziano.
And yes, exactly. And he told me that there is a journalist, the lady, and she's traveling, following Ibrahimovic city by city. And that's why I wanted to ask you, first of all, is it really true how many cities you changed because of career of Zlatan, and how you started working especially with him?
Yeah, first, shortly about myself. I'm a correspondent for Swedish television in Italy. I'm doing news, sports, everything. I started out as a news reporter as very young at Sweden's largest daily newspaper. And then I've been working in many countries. I've been a correspondent also in London and in Italy before, also writing books. And I've been with television for 3 years. But in 2003, I was at that time new at Aftonbladet, Sweden's largest daily newspaper. It wasn't me who decided to follow Ibrahimovic. I'm not a supporter. I don't think you ever should follow anyone as a supporter in your work. I think it's really important when you're a journalist, you can't see the people you have to follow as, oh, he's my star, he's my idol. So they asked me, you have a lot of experience, you're a tough girl. We're having problems creating a good relationship with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. You think you could try and see if you're capable? And I went to Hungary, and because there was a sponsor event, not a game, he was driving Formula 3000, the cars, and they sent me. This was in June 2003. He was very young. And basically, I ignored him. I didn't follow him. I didn't try to talk to him. And I think that it was a good way. And then he came up to me after, I think, 2 days, and he said, "Oh, you speak Italian. I want to play in Italy. I want to become the biggest player in the world." So that's how it started. And then, he was always angry.
Excuse me, at that time he was in Ajax, right?
Yes. But next year he went to Juventus.
Yeah.
And he was young, and he was, fantastic, but also often angry with journalists. But the thing is, I remember once he was angry with my newspaper at that time, Aftonbladet. He wasn't angry with me, but I represented Aftonbladet. So when he saw me, this was in Turin for the game, Juventus Real Madrid Champions League, March 2005, he started shouting, "I don't want to speak to you." And I got really angry. And I said, "No, you don't shout at me when I'm at work. If you don't want to do an interview, fine, but never shout, never yell at me. I'm doing my work. I want respect. You want respect? I want respect." And I always done like that with him. And I think that's why also we created a good relationship, because you have to be capable of answering him. If Zlatan sees that you're afraid, he'll eat you up for lunch. So never be afraid with him. And that's how it started. And I also know many languages. I speak 5 languages. I have a lot of contacts. So they sent me to follow him in Milan and in Paris and around the world like that. But it's not like I'm a crazy lady who's following Ibrahimovic. It's always been my bosses telling me to. And then, of course, he started talking many times just to me. After a game, there were 200 journalists, and he stopped and spoke only to me. Of course, the newspaper wanted me to go there because they knew Zlatan would talk to me.
But you said this first meeting, and then maybe some period before you really created a good relationship with him. How was it difficult? Did you read maybe more about his personality, or how did you try to manage?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, it took some time. No, I didn't read much. I just, like I said, tried to be always straightforward with him, never afraid of him. He has so many people around him who are, oh, Zlatan, can I do this? Can I do that for you? Or afraid. So I really try to be like I would be with a politician or like I would be with anyone else. Respect, but I also ask respect. And, I'm not your supporter. I think that's really important, even if you're into sports journalism. I would never ask an to sign something for me, autography, things like that, because you can't. I think it's really important to be professional when you work also with football stars.
And if you say something like about the turning point in your relationship, maybe you said about this moment in Turin when he was yelling at you, and you had a good answer for this.
Yes, I think that was one of the turning points. Another time he said, because I asked something about the game and he didn't like it, and he said, but are you capable of playing like me? And I said, no, I'm not, but are you capable of writing like me? And then he started laughing because he's not stupid. He's really, really smart. He's intelligent.
Yeah.
And I think when he played in Milan the first time, we really got a good relationship because I was there all the time and very so professional in Milan. And I also write for La Gazzetta dello Sport since many years. And I think Zlatan also saw that, okay, Jennifer is a professional person like I am. She speaks a lot of languages. She knows a lot of persons. I think so. It was a combination of personality and respect. And Zlatan doesn't really trust anyone from the start. He always thinks that you're going to try to hurt him. So I think it took a lot of time to gain his trust. And then he started trusting me. I think that was the big difference. I could still argue with him and discuss, but he knew somewhere Jennifer isn't here to hurt me. She's just doing her job.
That's cool. Another question is about his popularity. Maybe what can you say about the reasons and the consequences? He was popular before you started, let's say, let's use this, following him and making more materials about him, or he was already popular and the reason you're writing about him more was exactly that he was popular at that moment?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was very young, but I think everybody in Sweden understood that you had an extraordinary young player who was going to become a really big player. And he was also a strong personality. He did and said funny things, angry things, crazy things. So I think everybody was like, who is this Zlatan? And everybody understood that here you have a personality and a player that you don't see very often. And also he was becoming more and more popular, even if you will always have some people who don't like him because he has that kind of personality. You love him, you hate him, but he was becoming more and more popular, obviously. Yeah.
Can you say please some words about maybe your schedule or how much of Ibrahimovic was to your everyday life when you started working and as I said, following him?
No, but now it's not. Now it's not that much. 2 weeks ago, I worked with the national team for Gazzetta dello Sport. I worked 10 days with him, but I mean, for some years we also did a television show, a program about him that was called TVZ, and I was also writing and traveling, and my two daughters were very small. I remember every day was something with Zlatan, so I think I worked practically every day. Sometimes I thought I would go crazy if I write and talk more about Zlatan. But on the other hand, I thought this is interesting for some years. I didn't think he would play this long. And I mean, I got to travel around the world. I could follow not just a big player, but one of Sweden's largest personalities in modern time. So I thought it was really interesting as well. And Zlatan is such an interesting, complex person. So I thought it was still a nice challenge. Now I'm glad I'm doing also other things, a lot of news and culture, and sometimes Zlatan. Still.
And did you change really your location just because of his career that he changed the club?
I mean, in a sort of way, yes. The newspaper asked me, do you want to go and live? I already had lived in Italy, in Milan, and I said, yeah, it's not bad to stay in Italy, so why not? And the same thing with Paris. With Paris, I went more back and forth, but obviously, who wouldn't like to stay in Paris if they say you can stay in Paris and work? So, okay, yeah, that's true. And so, but then he went to Manchester. No, I didn't want to go to Manchester, and I couldn't go to LA because I had my little daughters and it's too far away.
But you traveled for some time, or not?
Yeah, I've been traveling a lot. Yeah, always. But I like that. Some people hate traveling. I like it. So Zlatan has brought me many opportunities.
And how can you maybe not evaluate, but what can you say about your relationship now with your friends, your like colleagues, or you're just journalist, he's a football player? What can you say in such long period?
Now, I mean, there was for many years I met him so often every weekend. Now I don't meet him that often, but I think we have a good professional relationship, and it was nice to meet him again back in Stockholm with the national team, and I will see him back in Milan when I go back now in 2 weeks to Italy. So a very good professional relationship. People sometimes say, "Oh, you're a friend of Zlatan," but I wouldn't say friends, because I think it's important that we have a professional relationship, and I must still be able to be critical if necessary with him, because I'm a journalist. Like I said, I'm not a supporter. But he's always nice. He asks, "How are your daughters?" And a lot of respect. And we know each other for so many years, so time passes by, and that counts.
Let's say about I don't know what, I don't want to talk specifically about some last scandals, but let's say if some scandals about Zlatan appears, what is your behavior? You're trying to be objective, or you're trying to protect him, and maybe he is writing to you asking what should I do in this situation?
No, I'm always trying to be objective. I would never try to protect him. But I think, though, I remember when I was in Paris, it was not a scandal, but there was a sick boy in former Yugoslavia, a child, and his parents had gone to the journalist and said, "Oh, he really wants to meet Zlatan because he's sick." And Zlatan didn't meet him because obviously he gets like hundreds and hundreds of those requests every week, even if the parents don't tell the media, and he can't. It's impossible. And I think the parents of that child, they put him in a really difficult situation, because he seemed like a mean person who didn't go and see that boy, because the people don't know that everybody's asking for him all the time. Come here, go there. Can you meet us? So I remember after the game in Paris that night, because everybody was talking about it, it was big news all around the world. And I said to him, "Zlatan, how do you see this situation? It must be difficult, because I know a lot of people ask this of you." And he said, "Yes, I'm glad you asked me, so I can tell my version." So there, I think I helped him a bit, because I thought it was right that he could say his version as well. And I know he was really, really upset with the parents of his child, because they made him look like a bad guy. And he said, and I knew this from my friendship with him, but you can't imagine how many people who want something from Zlatan every day. I don't think people realize. They ask me a lot too, because they know I know him. "Can you? Oh, I'm opening a new restaurant. Can you ask Zlatan if I can have some money? I'm getting married. Can you ask him to say something in a small video? Our child is getting baptized. Can Zlatan?" Every day, every minute, every
And they're
second.
writing to you.
Yeah, to me as well. People are nuts. I mean, we're crazy.
I understand.
Mm.
What can you say about his biography? But to be honest, I didn't read it, but I heard many positive evaluations of this book.
No, it's a nice story about his and sometimes a sad story about his childhood and youth. I knew all those things already almost, but it's a good story. I think he could have written a bit more about the football part, but it's good. It's sad. Zlatan, I think somewhere deep inside him, there's still that little boy who wants to show the world all the time. As you will see, I'm the best. Even now, he's at the top. He's so rich. He's so powerful. He has had such a lot of success, but he always wants to show the world he's the best. That's why he's still playing. I think that's why he doesn't want to quit, because he still has that hunger and that rage inside of him because of how he grew up.
Yeah, actually, it's amazing that he's scoring so many goals. Yeah. But did you help somehow in writing this book, or maybe you can share some details if he was talking to somebody, or he was writing by himself. I don't know.
No, yeah, he had a writer who wrote it for him. The Bonniers, the publishing company, chose that writer. He doesn't know much about football, but he's a good writer. So I know he wrote it. Zlatan talked to him, and then that person wrote the book. I have it here, this book in 2007 about Zlatan. It's called Zlatan är Zlatan. Zlatan is Zlatan. This is my book about Zlatan, but it would be time to write a new one because so many years have passed.
Yes, sure. I hope it will be in English, because I tried to watch some your interviews in Swedish. I know German, but with Swedish, it's a little bit complicated.
Difficult. Yeah, it's different. No, but Zlatan is a really interesting person. I think when you read a lot about him, there are a lot of myths and a lot of cliches. He's a lion, all that kid stuff. But if you look deeper inside of him, he's really an interesting person, and he's extremely smart. He didn't study, but he's very, very intelligent. He knows everything he does. I think sometimes people don't understand how smart he is.
Wow. Maybe you can give 2 or 3 examples, some facts which is not so well known in the media and around sports journalists and football people about Zlatan, which is you think is important to understand his personality.
I think it's important. I think it's important to understand also when he gets angry with media sometimes, because I think for him, we are the power. He's so powerful, but we're still the power, because when he was young and he grew up, in that area where a lot of people don't speak Swedish very well, and the media for him represented the power. So I think he felt inferior, and he tried to defend himself by getting angry. And I think that's a big part of the story, why he had so much trouble with the media sometimes. And Zlatan never forgives, and he never forgets. And he can be really, really hard with people. I've seen him almost make people cry sometimes in the mixed zone interviews, so after the games. Grown-up man. So you always have to be ready to answer him. But he also has a lovely side. He can be really charming, really nice, if he trusts you. That's the clue.
And after this situation you had in Turin, you didn't have any conflicts with him for such long
Not
period?
big conflicts, but I mean, sometimes he can say, I don't know, he said once, for example, in an interview, 90% of everything the journalists write are lies. And a lot of people don't have the courage to answer him. And I said, come on, Zlatan, what are you saying? 90%, give it a break. That's not true, no, maybe not 90%. So he changed the idea, but you have to answer him right away. But I don't know why many people are afraid of him, because he has this strong personality. If he comes into a room, everything changes.
Yes. What about the big losses? I know I'm working in football club, and I know that many players, they didn't want to talk with the journalists after the losing games. What about Zlatan? How he reacts after such games?
He wants to talk. He's the opposite. If he did a bad game, he often wants to talk, because he knows he's smart. That the journalist will maybe write nicer, and it will be better for him if he talks after the game. If he scores 3 times and is really happy, he doesn't always talk, because he's the king and he doesn't have to talk. So it's like that. I remember one time, this is a great episode, I was in Valencia. It was Valencia Paris Saint-Germain, and Zlatan got expelled. He got a red card. And everybody said he won't talk after the game. And I thought, I think he will talk to me. And I remember it was a really chaotic mixed zone with lots of people. I think I was maybe the only woman, maybe one other woman. And behind me, there was a male colleague, Spanish, and he said, could you please move away? Because I was before him. And I said, why should I move? Because he wanted me to move because I was a woman. And I was so angry, but I didn't say anything. And then Zlatan came, and he stopped, and he talked only to me about the red card and everything. And it was great. And then I turned around and I said to the male Spanish journalist, now you can take my place, because now I'm going away. So.
And you're talking in Swedish?
Yes, we were talking in Swedish. Yeah. So nobody understands.
That's good for you. Yeah, it's a good story. Also, let me remember. Okay, I also wanted to talk with you not only about Zlatan but about Sweden. Just some months ago, I read a perfect book about Astrid Lindgren, and I wanted to ask you how much this personality is still, let's say, valuable for Sweden, and maybe also in context with Zlatan, is it somehow reliable?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, she's still extremely important. I grew up with Astrid and her stories. My daughters grew up with them. They're still, I think, and you see the kids today who are small reading about Pippi Longstockings and everything. She's a really big part of the Swedish soul. And I think it's even more important today because now she's also a link to the past, to the old Sweden, things that don't exist anymore, you know, the rural Sweden. Is there a connection to Zlatan? Unfortunately, he doesn't read a lot. I'm sad because it's so important reading, but he didn't grow up like that, even if he's smart. But I think if they had met, there would have been a great connection because they're, you know, two brilliant people, I'm sure. Unfortunately, she's dead. So, but if I ever say to him next time, have you read Pippi Longstockings? Because she's also a crazy personality who goes her own way, a bit like Zlatan.
I also saw some. Okay, we have now this scandal about COVID that Zlatan didn't manage to hold quarantine, and he went to restaurant. And I want to ask you in general how it's strict in comparison of Italy and Sweden, and maybe in terms of football, and maybe also if you can say some words about Zlatan in this situation.
I must say I'm surprised that he did such a stupid thing. I didn't expect it from him because, you know, Italy have, I think, more than 114,000 dead in COVID now. And I've been working and living there this year, so I know how hard it is. You have a lot of people who can't go outside, you know, you have to stay at home. And this was in a red zone, as you know, a lockdown zone. And they had this friend of theirs who has this restaurant. He opened it up just for them. And now they say it was a job meeting. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but still it wasn't okay. You know, they were meeting like that and no masks and they were drinking wine. And I think it was a really big mistake because a lot of people see it and they think, oh, the typical football players, they think they can do anything they want. We have to respect the rules and they don't. So I think that was a mistake of him. He shouldn't have done that. We all do mistakes, but I think it was a bit arrogant and also stupid because, you know, you're Zlatan. Of course, there will be a photographer. Of course, things always leak out. We know that every secret comes out. If it doesn't come out now, it will come out in 10 years. That's something you learn living. And he's not a boy. He's 40 years old, so he should know.
And in comparison with Sweden, I know that Sweden was in the beginning against these strict measures for COVID.
Yeah, but I also think there has been a lot of fake news. You know, a lot of people didn't understand really the Swedish way. I think I've been living both ways. I've been living the Swedish way and the Italian way, and I'm very glad we didn't choose the Italian way because, you know, not being able to go outside in the night because it's forbidden. I mean, even for a walk, the lockdown was a terrible thing to live. And also, speaking of democracy, you know, the thing that just as, you know, being stopped in the street by a police who is asking, why are you outside? For us as Swedes, at least, that's not a small thing. That's a big thing. And also every country is different. In Sweden, we have a lot of space. We have already a lot of distance. We are very calm. If a government says something, we probably will do it. We don't have to have laws. We do it already. And we don't have these emergency laws that Italy has, for example. I don't know Russia, because Sweden hasn't been in war for more than 200 years. You know, so we don't have these emergency. The government is not allowed to close places, also to say to you, you can't travel. We're not allowed by our laws, because the laws are so important to protect the democracy. So I think a lot of people who have criticized Sweden, they really didn't know the context.
But maybe you could explain briefly what is the difference between Italy and Sweden in terms of these measures?
In what way do you mean, the laws or how the countries have?
You mean about laws? I mean especially this situation with COVID.
No, but I mean, yeah, Sweden doesn't have a pandemic. We don't have the kind of law that allows the government to close the country or to say to you that you're not allowed to go outside or to travel. And I think it's good, because these are fundamental rights of freedom and democracy. And I really hope that in Europe now and all over, the democracy will come back quickly, because I think it's not a small thing when you're not allowed to go outside your home or travel, and that the police can stop you. At least for us growing up like this, we're not used to that. And I also think, unfortunately, you can see that, like, for example, Italy, who has had all these measures, and Germany and France and a lot of countries, they have much more dead people than Sweden, even looking at the population. So unfortunately, it's a virus. How do you stop a virus? It's not that simple. And I think there have been a lot of fake news about the COVID, and I think that's a bad thing. I think you should always try to understand, why are we saying like that about Sweden, or why are we saying like that about Russia? Before you believe everything you hear, I think you should ask someone from that place. Me, for example, I don't know a lot of things about Russia, so I would like to know before I judge.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
So as I understand, we have like 2-3 minutes, right? You need to go.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, maybe we finish with a positive question.
Yes.
I read in the book about Astrid Lindgren about the women in Swedish society, that their role a bit different, especially in comparison with Russia, for sure. In comparison with Europe, I don't know. And my question about the sports journalism: how many women working in sports journalism, and especially, is it possible that on Swedish main television will be women commentators during big games like World Cup or?
Yes, there already are. Really? Yeah. In 2004, you had the first woman commenting the European Championships in Portugal.
Wow! And now how many? It's like
I don't know
exactly.
You have one who's called Hanna Marklund. She's really good. She used to play. She always comments. You have more and more. I think also, in Italy, for example, they have, of course, good female journalists as well, but we also have these, beautiful women who are in television with little clothes, just to be there. In Sweden, that's impossible. You would never ever put a woman in a TV show just to stay there and don't speak and be pretty. And I'm very glad. So it's very different. So the women you have here, they are really here because they're competent and they know football, and I think that's the clue.
And how spectators receive it, how they think about it?
I think you will always have some idiot who's saying, oh, a woman can't comment. But I think most people, we're a modern society. We're living in 2021. I think people get used to it. It was like, I don't know, in the 50s when a woman drove a bus for the first time, everybody said, no, a woman can't drive a bus. Now you'll have a lot of accidents over time. Of course, that's not true. And I think it's the same thing here. You will have someone reacting at the beginning, and then it becomes a normal thing. Football is all about studying it and following it. It's not something that only a male brain can do.
So I think it's a good finish. Thank you so much. And my last proposal to all my guests, it's if you can, to connect me with any other, maybe in your case, good sports journalists from Italy or press officers of different clubs, it would be a pleasure for me. You can think about it, maybe not now, later, so as you wish.
Of course, and you're always welcome if you have some specific request or question, someone you would like to get in touch with, some club or anything, just contact me. I will be happy to try to help you.
Thank you so
If
much
I need
for your
some help from Russia,
participation.
I know where to get you.
Yeah, sure. Free
Okay.
to ask.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Ну что же, вот очередной выпуск у нас подошел к концу. Необычный выпуск. Нас по-прежнему поддерживает проект «Футбологика». Я хотел бы поблагодарить в очередной раз ребят. Качественный контент, футбольное образование. Ребята уже работают в командах премьер-лиги. Кто-то еще на подходе, кто-то уже работает. Поэтому «Футбологика» – настоящее футбольное образование специально для вас. Ну, а Дженнифер, спасибо. Мне кажется, было очень интересно узнать, как живет Златан и что вообще есть такой человек, который следит за ним уже практически 20 лет, буквально меняя города, так как это делает Златан. Ну, я думаю, что много-много интересных поводов у нас осталось, много что еще можно изучать, читать. Одно ясно, что действительно это великий футболист, и я надеюсь, что какая-то биография его еще одна появится в исполнении Дженнифер, будет на русском или на английском, и мы узнаем еще что-то новое. Ну а вам спасибо, оставайтесь на связи, впереди новые выпуски, и до МЛС мы еще